So this is called Questions of Taste, Questions of Travel. I wrote it about a year ago. In Australia, Kuala Lumpur is often symbolic for the entirety of Malaysia. The Petronas Towers, the endless lines of traffic, a city metropolis. But this is not the Malaysia I know. I know the reddy brown water of the Rajang River, the back streets of Bintang Lo, which I always thought amusing because it sounded like Bintang Lo, which is frozen sweets in Chinese. The quaint house in Sirikeh, where an old lady charged my mother an extra ringgit to cut my hair because it was so long and thick. My Malaysia is dirt roads, free roaming chickens, the clearest of clear night skies, and perhaps most importantly, a unique cacophony of food. It is this food I carry around with me today, in my apartment in inner city Brisbane. My freezer is stuffed full of gombiang, even though they taste best when fetched straight from the oven. We're that weird family that buys several kilograms of it to take home, mainly because we don't trust my sister not to have eaten most of it before we even get on a plane back to Australia. Gaya toast is almost a staple in my diet, and I prefer peanut butter and gaya on bread rather than peanut butter and jam. But the nye, or 8-herb soup, was a staple during the colder winter months, when my sister and I still lived at home. My love for food from Sarawak is possibly my only true connection to my parents' homes. Many of my earlier memories of Malaysia are tied to food. Ever a fruit fiend, I discovered starfruit and dragon fruit in stalls by the road. I devoured satay sticks by the dozen at a party in Penang, loved the simply prepared fern at my auntie's house in Sirikeh, and endured hours in a car that stunk of durian. I drank sugarcane juice from a plastic bag and had to fight my sister for that last pork bun. But food also told me that Malaysia wasn't really my home. I could try as hard as I liked, but I didn't really belong. However much I loved the hustle and bustle of the markets and the serenity of the countryside. It was a blow, softened only by my youth. I was 7 and my sister 5. I think we might have been in Kuching. It was the first time I'd seen chickens wrapped in newspaper, the first time I'd smelled the saltiness of openly cured fish. It was the first time our mother had told us, "Don't speak when you get out of the car," before we ventured into the markets. Even though you can speak Mandarin, they'll know you're not from here. Dutifully, we kept our mouths shut. Here in Australia, my otherness isn't so apparent, but the reactions are there all the same. There are people who are surprised I can speak English, and others who are surprised when I can speak Mandarin. After struggling for attempts to pronounce my name and the inevitable, "So where are you really from?" it often seems a great letdown when my answer contains the word Malaysia. Many people in Australia, I have found, do not know very much about Malaysia at all, and then the conversation dies, or peters off into another, more accessible topic. If I am foreign in Malaysia and foreign in Australia, then who am I, really? I imagine I will be wrestling with this question for years to come, even though I know there will never really be a concrete answer. For me, another second-generation Australian-born Chinese, Malaysian or otherwise, the issues we face are not those of our parents. Integration and assimilation are not at the forefront of our minds, but concepts of identity continue to be complicated. We have to learn to negotiate the expectations of two opposing cultures, and this becomes increasingly difficult with the onset of puberty and the perceived relaxation of rules where our friends are concerned. Stereotypes are used as schoolyard taunts, and it is no wonder many end up picking a side in their early schooling years. Saturdays are filled with obligatory Chinese lessons, which at the time seemed like a waste of a perfectly good Sunday morning. But I can truly say I would be a different person if my parents hadn't instilled Malaysian Chinese culture into my life. I wouldn't have done my grade 2 school project on orangutans, and I don't think I would be as enchanted by folktales, myths, and legends. Learning to write and read Chinese is an exercise in etymology, and this has led into my love for English. I have been told that my ability to live within the interstices of Western and Eastern cultures is a gift. This may be true, but the world has yet to move on from the strict delineations of binaries. It is easier to distinguish between black and white than it is between shades of grey. and it was the world that told me I was different, that I didn't quite fit. I never wanted pale skin or blue eyes or blonde hair, but I was never Asian enough for the Asians and never Australian enough for the Australians. I didn't realise the importance of food or my cultural identity until I moved out of home. The need to make my own breakfast, lunch and dinner meant I turned to easier Western options. I'd need to make an hour and a half round trip to my parents in order to get a little taste of home. The relative dearth of Malaysian restaurants and eateries in Brisbane is upsetting, especially considering the number of Malaysian and Singaporean people I've met during my time in the retail and hospitality industries. Many traditionally Malaysian foods are lumped into the Asian category and cannibalised in order to be more appealing to Western palates. Ironically, Australia claims to be a multicultural society, but it still, whether subconsciously or not, exoticizes Asian foods. I remember goji berries making their emergence in health food stores as the next superfood, and being just slightly amused when I realised they were my favourite part of Mum's traditional chicken soup. There are particular foods and dishes I can only name in Sichao, my parents' native dialect, and this makes it hard to find recipes to replicate. Even then, there is a slim chance it will taste the way I want it to taste. There is nothing quite like freshly made noodles and broth prepared in a small humid stall, complete with the to and fro of family banter. A tiny place near our family home that makes kampo, golomni and dembangu opened last year. My father has already made friends with the owner, and I'm pretty sure my parents would eat there every second day if they could. A small but important part of Sarawak has come to them, and they are able to share this with my sister and I without an 8-hour flight and a half-hour car ride. I imagine they're chasing a piece of home, a place where they can speak their native dialect and eat delicious food. There is not much more one could ask for in a country that is not truly their own. I live in a hybrid world. It is a world where I enjoy congee mixed with Vegemite, where I switch between Chinese and English without even thinking. It is a world that is ever developing, ever changing. I don't know what might come next because it is uncharted territory. I know it would be difficult and I might never truly fit in or resolve the two clashing cultures in which I have been raised. My idea of home is changing, at times frighteningly so, and I have almost no control over where it will take me next. My Australia might not be my friend's Australia, but it is one I have built for myself. Until then, I will have those gompiang in my freezer, little hard-baked circles of dough that will always remind me of family, regardless of the place they decide to call home. Thank you.